So y'all race with these things, huh?
Never go for it, never go for it! Cars don't fly!
Hi, my name's Wyatt Knox.
You may recognize Wyatt from our previous Wired video.
I'm the Special Projects Director here at the Team O'Neill Rally School. And today I'm breaking down clips from movies and television about driving. Roll clip. Drifting. Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift.
Go!
So the scenario that we've got in this movie is that they're racing up through a parking garage to get to the top level. Any racing driver would tell you that this is sort of nonsense. If you're trying to get up as quickly as possible, you wouldn't be drifting much. But it is a lot more fun, and it's certainly more spectacular to watch in a movie.
Maybe you can give me some pointers sometime.
So there's a couple of different ways you can initiate a drift depending on how much speed you have. You can come into the corner using the handbrake to create some rotation, finish that off by, using more throttle than you would need on that surface to spin the rear tires. Another great way to do it is what we just saw here, which is the clutch kick, which is while you're on the throttle, if you just clutch in, the engine's gonna rev up, and then when you clutch out again, it's gonna shock load those rear tires into spinning and then creating oversteer around the corner. It works when you've got about the right amount of speed for the corner, but it's super useful to break the rear tires free when they don't really want to. Crashing a car, Transporter 2. So what you're looking at here is a couple of cop cars that crash into each other. A little bit behind the scenes into some of what the stunt guys are doing here. You can see underneath the vertical car where there's a few sort of metal rails that have been added on where the one car is going to impact the bottom of it. And then as that vehicle makes contact and breaks through that first car, you can see there's nobody in that second cruiser at all. So a car like this that you're gonna do some stunt driving with, you're gonna wanna make some safety modifications to. The addition of a racing seat and real 5-point seat belts, a racing harness, is gonna make that a lot safer.
Not bad.
Did your mother ever teach you to say thank you?
One additional thing that they probably fit in most of these cars is a dry cell battery. A normal car battery in a collision, the problem is that it's acid filled and that's nothing you want any of your people dealing with. It's just not good. So a regular dry cell battery, like we would use in a race car, is much safer, and you can mount that in a safe location so that the more impacts you take, that battery and that fuel cell are still going to be safe. High speed driving in reverse, drive. What you've got here is a 5-liter Mustang GT in a race with a Chrysler 300, which even if that is the souped up version, the Mustang's gonna just walk away from it any day. So we're kind of departing from reality from the beginning. It's good stunt driving. It was well executed. Once he does his forward 180, which is probably just because it's on the kind of stunt driving menu to pick from, you can only go about as fast in reverse as you can in first gear. So now the other guy's got a massive advantage.
And why didn't he say anything?
There's just no reason to ever tactically do that, especially when your car can easily outrun the other one. Time travel. Back to the Future. Again, you really have to look at, an air-cooled Volkswagen bus keeping up with a DeLorean. DeLoreans were slow, I'll give you that, but they're not that slow. An air-cooled little Volkswagen, you would just drive away from it and the story would be over.
See if you can do 90.
As far as getting up enough speed to travel through time,
when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
88 miles an hour in an old DeLorean with all of that stuff bolted in the back could be a challenge, in just a mall parking lot.
Stay with me, Marty. All your questions will be answered. Roll tape.
You would ideally want a much longer stretch of road, but conceivably, sure, he could get up to 88 and jump through time. Off-road driving, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Hang on. Rock, 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 rock.
Super fun scene to watch, some high-speed off-road driving in a taxi cab. The one kind of shout out that I'd have for that is the seatbelt thing.
How about we just skip down to the part where you tell me what this has to do with me?
Maintaining good control of that vehicle, and you're gonna be bouncing your head on the ceiling, your feet are coming off the pedals. It's gonna be really ugly.
What are you asking me or telling me?
You gotta get your seatbelt on. There's a couple of big jumps, one in the park and one leaving the park, getting back onto the pavement. The main fear there is obviously, broken suspension, but really your oil pan crashing down on the road and getting a hole in your oil pan and destroying the engine. What? You can see towards the end of this where there's actually a skid plate that they've added underneath the oil pan of the car to handle that last jump. More SUVs and off-road oriented pickup trucks are gonna have some of that, but in a normal sedan, it's gonna be a little bit up to you to take that initiative and do some of that ruggedizing on your own.
Are you aiming for these people?
No. Maybe that mime.
Driving off a cliff, Thelma and Louise. All right, so yeah, nobody definitely would have survived. What I like there though is that she did sort of preload the suspension with a little left foot brake and then accelerate.
What are you talking about?
One of the main reasons for left foot braking is to control the movement of the suspension. If you were about to go off a jump, for instance, it might make sense to add a little left foot brake, and that'll compress those front springs, and then right before you go off of that jump, release the brake full throttle, and that spring is gonna unload and take the weight off of the front, just like you would on a bicycle or a skateboard or anything else. So it's really good driving. It's great she's left foot braking, but yeah, nobody's gonna survive that one.
Oh my God.
Driving on two wheels, the fate of the furious. So this is a really good stunt, performed perfectly. It's all real. There's nothing sort of CG about it. If you find yourself up on two wheels,
What are you doing?
what you need to do is turn whichever way at that point is downhill. We'll put the car back down onto four wheels. And if you turned uphill, it would get you closer to and or rolling over. Once you get used to that balance point, what you're gonna need is one, a lot of air pressure in your tires, and two, you need a locking differential. A locking differential is gonna send equal power to both driven wheels, regardless of whether one's on ice and the other's on pavement or one's in the air. When you accelerate, it'll still put power down, even if your vehicle's only on two wheels. Precision parking, Ace Ventura, when nature calls.
If I can just find a parking spot. Perhaps we should slow down just a teensy-weensy bit. Really? Look out!
Not at all obviously possible or advisable under any circumstance.
Can you believe it?
How did they do it in the movie though? You can tell that initial rollover is caused by some kind of a charge. You can see the Land Rover's driving along fine, and then literally there's an explosion underneath it almost that causes that vehicle to start tumbling in a big rollover. And then later on when they go into their parking spot, that vehicle's literally just getting dropped from a crane for that really quick little 1 second shot.
You might want to think about getting this baby detailed.
Flipping a truck, The Dark Knight. That must have been cool. Just to be on set and watch that go down. That's a real stunt. That's a real truck doing a real flip. Would it happen like that in the real world? Absolutely not.
I have all these rules.
If you did somehow manage to stop the cab of an 18-wheeler, they're really two very separate parts that are only connected by a trailer hitch, essentially. So it wouldn't all happen in one big piece like that.
You ought to know, you bought it.
To do this stunt, they created a really lightweight version of a tractor-trailer truck that was all one piece and mounted a huge nitrogen cannon in the back of it. You can see that huge gas discharge again when the truck flips over, but again, it's not CG, it's all real. It's a specially made rig to do that one stunt, but it's super cool. Canyonero, The Simpsons.
Wow, this is roomy.
Can you name the truck with four-wheel drive? Smells like a steak and seats 35. Canyonero, Canyonero.
Spectacular. So the Canyon Arrow is kind of the Simpsons stab at the Americans' love for large sport utility vehicles.
Top of the line in utility sports. Unexplained fires are a matter for the courts. Canyon Arrow. Canyon Arrow.
It climbs up a mountain of cars, metaphorical I'm sure. Physically to climb up a mountain of cars wouldn't happen.
The Federal Highway Commission has ruled the Canyon Arrow unsafe for highway or city driving.
Driving through buildings, Bad Boys 2. We see this a lot in a lot of different car chases and kind of action scenes, cars driving through buildings. This is the more dramatic one just because they're drug dealer shacks that explode when you hit them.
These are the drug dealer shacks. They make the cocaine here.
But they got a lot of shit in there that likes to blow.
All right, so no vehicle is actually ever gonna take this amount of abuse. Driving the Hummer H2, kind of our Canyon Arrow in real life here, is made by GM. It's kind of an amalgamation.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Essentially, it's a Chevy truck with a body on it. In this scene, it's super fun to watch. There's explosions, there's, jumping cars many times over and crashing through buildings and all of this stuff. But when it gets to the bottom and everybody drives away and the thing's still in one piece, not gonna happen.
Overcompensating tough guy.
Jumping between two buildings, Furious 7. As much fun as it is, I think we all know on this one that, it's not anything that a normal car would ever handle.
Cars don't fly. No brakes. What? Got it. Get out.
So in the second building, when his brakes are out and you can't get the brakes to work, easiest thing to do is most of the time shut the engine off. Or you can just do what they did in the third building, which is get the car into a big skid, get it sideways to the road, and use that to get the vehicle slowed down and hopefully to a stop. Flipping a car, Casino Royale. All right, so credit where credit's due. That's all a real car. It's all a real stunt. And it was probably terrifying for whoever was in there. They tried to roll the car with a standard kind of a ramp and they couldn't get it to roll. It's so wide and it's so low. What happens here is the car's driving along. They deploy this gas cannon, which flips the vehicle very quickly. And this one actually set a record for the most times they've rolled a car side over side like that in a movie. It was 7 times total. Good clean stunt, pretty scary stuff. The big bus jump from Speed.
Everybody hold on.
It's of course fake. You would need a ramp of some kind, just like you would on a bicycle or a skateboard or anything else to jump across a gap like that. If you do need to go off a jump with a car, you definitely want to get your speed sort of checked where you need to be and then be on the gas aggressively through that transition and off of that jump so that the car planes out reasonably well in the air.
Thank you very much.
Jumping a car onto the highway, Dukes of Hazzard. So again, respect for using a real car and not going the CG route.
I'm always ready to go that far.
Really cool, but yeah, everyone would have died.
Is that bad?
Head and neck trauma, back stuff, silly things. If you land a car that hard, you're not gonna walk away from it.
You're about to meet your maker.
So the most common way that you see these cars launched is just simply through the use of ramps, and often, again, nitrogen-charged sort of gas cannons can provide a huge amount of acceleration thrust. But yeah, that's a real complete car that they somehow sent off a ramp and it went huge.
We had a good time and I'm not gonna apologize for that.
Exhaust flames. Too fast, too furious. In a normal modern car, you're not going to see a lot of exhaust flames at all. The problem is you would need a lot of unburnt air and fuel mixture going out of your exhaust pipe to create those flames. And maybe people are doing that out there on the street to try and be cool, but it's not something that's happening as a side benefit of making a lot of horsepower at all. Oil slick, Night Rider.
Don't start pushing things. I don't even know what those things do.
I'll tell you, when you're in a race like this, you better have a good firm grip on that wheel, because anybody can... Oh, here's a slide out right now.
All right!
So what you've got here is a pretty typical kind of spy gadget, the old oil slick behind you and spin the guy out. If you really did have some kind of an oil slick, you'd want it to spread out and fan out a little better.
You can't do that. It's against NASCAR regulations.
So if you do realize for some reason that the road ahead is really slippery, be really smooth and light with any steering that you do and any throttle or brake that you try and apply while you're on that slippery surface. Brake nice and easy, steer nice and easy. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning out and crashing into stuff all over the place. Talking while driving. Strange brew.
Hey, did you ever notice that, like in movies, that they, when they're driving, like they don't look at the road, like for a long time? Gee, no, I never noticed that.
Really cool to see them call this out, and it's something that's super common, and we've all seen driving along and you're just having a big chat and not really paying attention.
Yeah, that's because they're being towed, eh? Really? By like a rig.
It's because that car is probably on a flatbed trailer. They're just driving along, getting towed by someone, having a conversation.
No point in steering now.
Conclusion.
It's really cool in this day and age to see so many filmmakers using real cars with real drivers, doing real stunts, going pretty big and doing some scary stuff, and it looks like a lot of fun. It could be so easy to do it all with computers, and thank you so much everybody who's making these films for all of your hard work, and we really do appreciate it. And that's a wrap. Hey!